I remember there's one time I actually went with a group of cosplayers in costumes for a meeting with a big brand. And that's how we sealed the deal. I definitely should have read the question. I should have read that one. That's a good question. That is a good question.
Hey man, gamer.
My name is Jotham Micah. I am head of marketing here at Century Cinemax Cinema Chain, as well as Century Pictures, which is the distribution arm of Century Group, as well as co-founder and business development manager at Movie Jabber, the home of the pop culture experience in Kenya.
Lovely. So you've worked in both entertainment world and the marketing world for quite a bit. How did your journey from founding Movie Jabber to leading the marketing at Century Cinemax shape your approach to brand strategy?
Well, for me, at the age of 4, my dad bought me 2 comic books, Superman and Incredible Hulk.
Nice.
I think he had realized I had a bit of a creative streak in me. I used to draw and all that stuff. And from there, my eyes were like, this world is amazing. So from that point, I knew I wanted to be in that world somehow, somewhere. It transitioned from wanting to be a comic book artist to writer. And as I started learning how big the world is, until eventually in campus, I started to realize, or rather I asked myself, there must be someone who distributes these movies from the studios to cinemas around the world. By that time, I settled on cinema, Hollywood, or movies, because I realized that was the major intersection point for everything. Movies would be adapted to books, would be adapted to movies, comic books to movies, games to movies, TV shows to movies. That was the intersection point that everybody seemed to love, and I was like, that's where I want to start. So, but then I started asking myself after we came back to Kenya, why is it that there are fans around here, but there's nothing happening formally or officially to kind of bring them together?
Right.
Conventions, even events in cinema. So, towards the end of campus, came up with a company. The goal, the purpose was at that point to do movie reviews, but didn't get that much support because at that time, telling brands in Kenya that, hey, we think digital video will be the future in 10 years or so. This was in 2010. Nobody believed us. So we focused on Facebook, started doing, at that point, or rather at that time, the biggest issue for people was, you're going to your DVD guy and he's telling you that Prison Break is out, for example.
Part
There are
A.
50 episodes, you need to buy this 10 DVDs. You get home, only 2 of them have the episodes, the rest, the trailers, and everything else. So we decided to form a group that would help people kind of tackle that problem with fellow fans, or rather, at that point, I coined the term the man on the street, speaking to his fellow man on the street. And it became popular like that. So, and that's it. So people started realizing, yo, if you really want to know how many episodes are out there for a specific show, or whether something is online, go to Movie Jam. So we started doing events. And then from that point, especially in 2013, we got the attention of the Warner Brothers, Fox, and Disney licensee for East and West Africa,
Right.
and gave me a test, gave us a test, passed, gave us 2 options, and that's how I started working in the distribution business, and that's how Movie Jabber got also into the cinema space officially.
Lovely. That is definitely a ride and a wild one. Now, also, given your experience in the content production across the various media that you've mentioned, what's one common mistake that brands make when creating content that you think they should probably avoid?
I think before brands had the freedom of, you're watching their stuff on TV, you can't speak back, can't speak back. You couldn't comment nothing.
There's
But
no
now,
feedback at all.
exactly, there's no feedback at all. Now, eventually, feedback started coming in, when Facebook, social media, and emailing became popular. But then the feedback wasn't really real time, and it wasn't also global. Yet the boundaries between the different regions of the world were still there. First world countries, third world countries, stuff like that. The boundaries were still there, and also the products were staggered. So sometimes something would release, things would release at different markets at different times. You
Yeah.
get, but then now everything's a bit uniform. Now, I mean, look at how big WhatsApp has become, and a lot of global platforms as well. So right now, I think a lot of brands are starting to realize that they have to be able to change with the comments and the sentiments of what they're getting online. And those that do that actually and tend to be more authentic and raw, you'd rather own up to a mistake and apologize to the consumer as opposed to just riding with it because brand guidelines and all this and all that. I hope I've answered your question because I realized in my answer I may have kind of derailed.
No, definitely. You went even more in
All
depth,
right,
so
cool.
definitely good answer. Now, also with digital marketing, like you've mentioned in these sort of aspects, in these sort of different facets, it can be a wild ride. Can you share a story for where a digital campaign doesn't go as planned and what you learned from that experience?
So, to be very honest with you, so from a movie jabber perspective, I'll speak from movie jabber and cinema perspective as well. For movie jabber, the campaigns that have always seemed to work the best have been the raw, organic ones. Like we don't plan anything;
Right.
we just get the right movie and come up with the right experience, and then that's it. People start talking about it and all that. I think only one kind of paid or organized campaign with the brand partner kind of succeeded. But the ones where we've actually gone maybe near viral, there's one time where we trended where the during the Batman versus Superman screening, advanced screening,
I remember.
we did it like a week in advance, I think, a week or 2 days, 3 days, I don't remember. But our hashtag, one of the hashtags, hashtag fly to Gotham was the number three top trending hashtag in Kenya. We didn't plan anything, nothing at that point around. We didn't even think about trending in any way. We just found out afterwards it was trending. From a cinema perspective, I guess something similar. Some of our best campaigns have involved Deadpool, the
Yeah.
Merc with the Mouth, and I think the elements around it, guys were winning some really cool memorabilia, like I think the katanas, swords.
Nice.
So those have had to work well for us, but those are pretty much in terms of the paid ones. The Deadpool one that worked well, but the rest, any that worked well, was purely organic because the movie was great and guys have been looking forward to it, and there was an experience around it, and people wanted to be part of that experience. Either that or they really love mandazis, and we probably kind of dangled that in front of the camera somewhere.
Definitely like a carrot, but you know, Mandazi flavor, of course. And in your opinion, what's the most underrated aspect of building a brand's image that people may overlook? And is this something that you focused your work in when you're at Century
Yeah.
IMAX or even at Movie Jabber?
So I think the people aspect is the number one thing I would say. That's the main thing that people tend to forget. Yes, brands have their guidelines, policies, people have their KPIs, their targets, and all this jargon. But then
Right.
if you forget the number one, even if you're the leader of a department, you're a person. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you prosper. I'm not saying this to be all ideological and all inspirational. The fact is we are human. Then still within that, the different facets are that, I've realized that campaigns that work really well is when people are friends with each other.
Yep.
You get, there's not that you're disrespecting people's positions and ranks.
Right.
There's respect. You can still be friends within that, especially when guidelines are met. So that's the biggest. So the human element is what I've realized. But like when you work with people and they feel appreciated, they're more willing to give their ideas. They're more willing to go the extra mile as well.
So a professional decorum, but as well a friendly touch
Yeah.
towards that
All right,
relationship.
let me put it this way: you're a professional human being.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
That's be all end all.
Yeah,
A professional.
you're a
human
professional human being. You're not a professional AI. You're not a professional android. Yeah, you're a professional human being. And as long as you're dealing with mature people, honest people, by default, people will respect your rank. You get
Yep.
only certain people who either don't have the maturity you get or the experience or on the understanding would take that friendship and want to use it to abuse the official foundation, the official professional foundation
Right.
that those things are supposed to rest on. Yeah.
Now, with over a decade in the industry, you've seen some marketing trends come and go. What's one trend that you believe is here to stay and why?
It's a very, very hard question because part of that relies on memory. So let me answer. Let me give a bit of context for that question. So for me, my personality type is I can be very firm and blunt as well, and sometimes people find it difficult. That's to understand. People I've worked with, some people find it difficult to understand that I can be friends with you, but at the same time, I can really honor the agreement. Like I don't mind telling you that, look, I'm your friend, and I owe you some honesty, and I'll be honest with you and tell you that you didn't do well here. So here are the few steps left to kind of either redeem the situation,
Right.
or if the situation cannot be redeemed, and we've tried our best, then the only other option is for us to part ways.
Right. Because this is a professional environment.
It's a professional
I will
environment.
give you that courtesy,
Exactly.
but still very much.
Exactly. So for me, from what I've seen, what trend I think right now with how things are going, and again, if you don't mind me mentioning the Mandaman was that we saw recently, I think the biggest trend that we're seeing now and won't go away anytime soon is the consumer's ability to kind of dictate any changes upon the product. Yeah. Again, as I mentioned early on, brands, people can no longer just speak at their customers or their clients. There has to be an element of real-time engagement. So I think marketing components around that. I know AI is trying to catch up with that. I know right now we have some softwares that also help you, kind of respond to people, manage comments and engagement online, all that. That's all really well and good. But I think that just underscores the fact that the power is now in the hands of the consumers and being able to give real-time engagement. That I think that's one trend that won't be going away anytime soon.
Okay.
And especially now within the Gen Zs and the future generation.
It's the new wave, you'd
Yeah.
say. And speaking on those, you've spoken on interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships and partnerships. In a more professional manner, you've successfully built partnerships and sponsorships for the various events. What's the key to convincing potential sponsors to come on board? And if you have any tips for brands probably looking for similar ideas, mentioning, of course, that you did have Warner Brothers at one of your very first events, which I
Yeah.
attended. I remember this. It was a massive deal. It still is.
So I would say first, memes. If you have great memes or if you have a great meme lord, I think that's pretty much sorted. Just make sure your timing on the emojis is just perfect. Anyway, so tips. So initially in the beginning, believe it or not, getting brands to buy into the cinema scene and the pop culture scene, gaming, cosplay, anime, manga was very difficult to impossible in the
Very
beginning.
niche.
Exactly. Not because the fan base was not there. The fan base was there, but then the people you're speaking to were either very ignorant of the genre of entertainment you're talking about, or they were not sure how to translate it to value for their brand or their product. So the best times it worked for us is when, number one, you're speaking to a brand directly within the scene, like Warner Brothers, for example. But it wasn't that didn't mean it was an easy sell every time. You get the idea had to be just right. It had to match everything, the product being sold. Cinema is very diverse because it's like you're selling different types of products every week. There's one movie for kids, there's another movie for adults, parents, families.
Even niche demographics.
Exactly, even within that. So it's always diverse. So you're dealing with different brands when you're going out there to clients. I think the biggest now, when I started dealing with people or brands that do not understand it, I used to do two things. I used to make it practical. I remember there's one time I actually went with a group of cosplayers in costumes for a meeting with a big brand. And that's how we sealed the deal. Because now they came, they looked at the cosplayers, they look at the age. Because the brand people who manages brands, I totally understand. They have targets to meet, they're custodians. That brand is not theirs. You get. So they met with the cosplayers physically, looked at the outfits they'd made, asked them questions, and they started to understand. Okay, and they're able to relate. Once they're able to relate, like, okay, this person is the same age as my daughter or my son. And boom, they start to understand.
Right.
Then the other way, which was the easiest way, was just, kind of give them tickets to cinema or invite them if there's another client who's already doing an event in cinema, just have them come through. Other times we've even had to connect them, the client with the studio. Just let's have a call together.
Right.
And the studio rep kind of takes them through everything, answers their questions, puts them at ease. Because, nothing, if you have a brand here talking to somebody from Disney, what kind of more credibility can possibly be there?
Honestly, that's a proof of concept. And I think people really do downplay escapism.
Yeah.
And films are a big part of that. So, as different as humans are in their different regards and all this, escapism is still something that connects us all. So even that ticket to a movie they want to see, or even just having that access to that, can definitely score it.
And then to answer your second question, because I've just remembered now, as you're saying this, entertainment is not a need. It's not a basic need.
Yeah.
But we still need it. Because you always have a song playing in your head. You're always reading something. You get. So even if you're not reading, it's a fictional story, you're reading something that, that's either nonfiction, you're still reading. That's you're educating and entertaining yourself as well. So we don't need it, but we need it. So I think that's something most brands have to keep remembering, because you have a lot of people who manages brands, they as persons understand, but as I mentioned, connecting that to the brand value and targets is key. Now, to your other question, like, what advice would I give to brands?
Yeah.
I think nowadays is a bit easier because, again, social media, digital, and people are exposed to a lot of things, and the way things are, a lot of brand managers or custodians of these brands they're seeing change in real time.
Mm.
They're seeing how people want to be entertained. People want to see genuine sincerity. So you find that, for example, an insurance company is not just giving you insurance services, but they also understand that there are other aspects to you. So if they want to keep your attention, how can we entertain you as well? How can we give you discounts where you regularly go? So if you look to your life left, you're seeing your insurance partner. You look ahead of you, you're still seeing your insurance partner. So there's that 360 approach. I would just advise as brands, things keep changing on a daily, regular basis. And brands are nothing without human beings. So that should drive everything. What are human beings liking? What don't they like? And how do you subject or partner your brand guidelines with that reality?
So you've managed to double the attendance and revenue at Movie Jabber. What's one secret behind such phenomenal growth, in all honesty? And is there a particular campaign or strategy that you're especially proud of?
So we learned the lessons the hard way. We've had 3 stages to Movie Jabber's growth.
Right.
I mean, the first significant stage, I guess, was between 2013 and 2016 when we started working with the studios, and then we started getting sponsors. It was really easy at that time, basically, and that made us blind to the fact that we didn't have consumer engagement. You see, you can be friends with people because maybe you're rich or something. They come to you for freebies, but right after that, they leave you. So because you haven't been exposed to anything else, you tend to think they like me for me until that money goes. Then you start realizing, oh, why aren't these people talking to me anymore? Why aren't they calling me anymore? Exactly. So that was us from like 2017 up to 2019. Yeah. So, and I remember somebody, a friend of mine at that point, he just approached me after our first convention in 2016. He was very impressed, but because he'd been in the advertising and agency space for quite a while and dealing with brands, and he was also a fan of this world. He came and told me point blank. He introduced himself. He came and told me point blank, what you guys are doing is good, but you need to work on building a consumer base first before. I'll rather make that a priority before looking for sponsors, because sometimes sponsors look for you. You don't look for them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the scenario up to that point. They were looking for us. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I didn't take it that seriously because it's like, everything is working well. If it ain't broken,
Don't fix it.
And then and then the reality hit, I think 2017, 2019. 2019, right before COVID shutdowns and lockdowns in 2020, our last event in 2019 was the worst attended ever, 400 people. It was terrible in every way. Like now that I look back, it was just bad. And so we went back and we realized that was actually what happened in 2019 was the result of a decline process that started in 2017. But we hadn't noticed that because we had the funding and the resources, so we didn't really care that much to understand people. And there'll be those recurring customers. So just because you're seeing the same faces and all that stuff, and you're looking, you're like, okay, it's the same people, the video game tournament, same people, cosplay tournament, we're good. We normally hit 10, 20 contestants. So we're good. Because it's consistent, we're good. Instead of understanding that, okay, if it's the same faces, it means you're not getting new customers. Yeah, we never realized that. Until now, COVID hit, things shut. That 2019 event was so bad, I was even this close to shutting down Movie Jabber because of that. Went into debt as well. Couple things, bad things happened. And so now during the lockdown period, started now learning, reading, and understanding consumer growth, understanding how word of mouth, referrals, organic. How do you tap into organic growth? How do you tap into making the fans your own ambassadors? Because at that point, we had spent money on advertising. That's what we used to do, advertising. 2019, we spent like a lot of money, like almost like 200,000 shillings on trending on Twitter. At that time it was Twitter. Zero numbers to show for it because we couldn't track it.
The conversion.
Exactly, yeah. So sat down, thought about it, came up with a plan, spoke with the guys who do our ticketing, came up with a way of tracking sales as well. So it's real time. I really can't go into specifics, so because whatever, corporate secrets, blah blah blah. But fact is, from that point, we now started focusing on consumers. We went back to basics, learning. Like even with COVID, we started doing some virtual stuff, events. Started tracking the numbers. It also helped the people who are hungry for something physical, for something in person. So when lockdown started being shifted, we could do private screenings. We started realizing the numbers were increasing. So before where we would struggle to have like fill a whole space like this, like the 48 seat of the VIP screen at Garden City, we now moved to 54. Next thing we know, it's 90 something, 100 plus, 200 plus. So that also helped. But then now with the numbers coming in, we started paying attention a lot to two types of people: recurring people and new faces. And we'd always try to find out, like personally, I would speak to them, try to speak to as many people as possible. Why have you come back? How did you find out about us? And try to implement that in our marketing and try to make sure that our events, our packaging, whatever we do is always like, it's in a way that's authentic.
True to identity.
True to identity. And within Movie Jabber, we don't have like, corporate executives in charge of stuff. We have fans in charge of stuff. And then, we do have one or two voices who now balance the business side with the creative side. But what we really focus on is now teaching the creatives to now also be able to balance on their own. Because you still need the ideas. It doesn't matter what kind of a business person you are. A business person is like stale bread without an idea to spark the community. So balancing those two. And then number two, speaking directly. Always try to speak with people, check the DMs, emails as well. My number is always there for calls and all that. And by grace of God, I've been able to manage that, because before at first I was like, it's going to be overwhelming, but it's worth it. Because if you get one sentiment from one person, chances are very high a lot more people are thinking about it. And if you get the same sentiment from more than 10 people, chances are very high everybody, is thinking the same thing. So that's how we've been able to factor the growth within Movie Jabber as well. And obviously, as I mentioned, at the end of the day, God's grace.
Praise be.
Amen.
The revolution was televised, or at least cast from movie projector. So the Movie Jabber entity, let's call him Jabber, has his fingers in many pies. He wears many hats. That's esports, that's video games, that's cinema, and more, obviously, with the manga and the anime. How do you prioritize which sector to focus on, and what's the most exciting project you're working on right now?
Okay, so that's a great question, because within the team, it's a bit of banter when it comes to people's strengths and weaknesses. So I'm more of a comic book fan, comic book and movies.
True and true.
But if I was to be somewhere and given an option of what form of entertainment I would like to stay with, I'll choose a comic book.
Okay.
Other guys, anime, manga, gaming, whatnot. Yeah. So how we balance that? We've had the privilege of trying different things, costly sometimes, but like we had this event called Comic Explosion that was focused primarily on comic books and also local comic book creators. Now, is there hope? Is there potential in the local comic book scene? Yes, there is. But I do believe, even like if you look at the local film industry, I do believe that our growth pattern, trajectory, even for anime manga, may not necessarily match the pace or the aspects that happen globally. So those are the lessons we had to learn. Because sometimes we try to copy paste exactly the look and feel of the event, everything abroad. And we started realizing the reason why it works abroad is because all those companies started, like the biggest Comic-Con, or one of the most popular Comic-Con conventions, San Diego Comic-Con, started like, is it 54 or 50 something, 50 plus years back. That's 50 plus years of brand building, consumer growth and all of that. Trial and error. There's a lot. Again, for them, they can, big studios would just, ask them how much and boom. So we had to learn and understand those things. So those aspects, and then number two, seeing how consumers would react to something is what would help us understand what to drop, what to maintain. And because you need a balance, corporates and consumers. Yeah. So sometimes you'll find that corporates are present in the country. Like we have PlayStation representatives in the country here. We have Warner Brothers. All these guys have offices here. But then the consumer spend is not enough to justify the kind of spend that, these companies would green light in other bigger markets. So you really wouldn't be able to execute something as big as what you'd want to execute, because the consumer spend is not justifiable enough to the corporates. And at the same time, there's a level they won't go below. So it's either go big or go home. Anything else is a no-no for them. So those two things help us decide what to do. And right now, our biggest thing, obviously, is our anime manga convention on Saturday, August 31st, Otomatsuri. Yeah, and I may or may not diss a few guys about their favorite anime characters, but
Hey man,
may or may not.
my people will come for you. You do know this. But
There is that threat, but I'm still alive, So yeah.
fair enough. Okay, let me kind of throw you for a curve here, something from left field. If you could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, who would they be and why? Then one more for you. How do you think that inspire or influence your work?
How many people are we looking at? One, two.
Three. Three people.
Oh, okay.
Round table, 4 seats, you included.
So one person I would mention probably be now the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, Mr. David Zaslav. He took over an entity that was once massive. Warner Brothers to me has been my favorite studio for a long time.
A staple.
Exactly. And right now it's been on, I mean, I know the books look good, but then obviously the stocks, I'm going to geek mode. Anyway, let me just, point is, I really love to understand why, what they saw in the purchase and just how it has been navigating and, trying to, uplift Warner Brothers Discovery, basically. So that would be one person. I have a couple others who within that space, but
Again, this is dead or alive.
dead or
Full
alive.
rounds gallery, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll probably, and every time I think about this question, I'm always like, there's some athletes I also like to talk to because I'm really into sports, especially contact sports.
Like
So your
badminton.
rugby, yeah, badminton, chess,
Chess.
the really violent stuff.
Very
you know,
intellectual.
eating pawns. Yeah. So yeah, off the top of my head, dude, man, that I wish I definitely should have read the question. I should have read that one. But David Zaslav is one. There's one person in the back of my head. Elvis Presley probably is another. Johnny Cash as well. Because I really love to pick their brains on some of the tragedies they went through about that. Wesley Snipes,
Of course.
because I think he
Godfather.
has a really strong personality. And I think his Blade movies kind of withstand the
Test of time.
test of time. It's a superhero movie. Moses from the Bible. There's somebody in the back of my head I know I should mention. Zack Snyder
Okay.
is one. I love the Snyder cut, Batman versus Superman. I loved Man of Steel. And on that note, definitely Henry Cavill. Best Superman casting ever. I just loved, and his birthday I think is a day or 5 days before my birthday. We were both born in May. Guys born in May are awesome. If I may humbly fly that there.
On your astrology thing. Okay.
Come again, just I'm just saying humbly, modestly. If you do your research and survey, guys born in May, amazing. I think Ben Affleck was born in May.
Is it?
I don't know. I think so. I'm not so sure. Let's scratch that. Yeah, I think that's the current list. Yeah, my grandfather on my mom's side. Just out of curiosity, just to better understand, because I realized Kenya has not been independent for that long. Yeah, less than 100 years. 60 something, right?
1, 2, 1. Yeah.
So the Lola guys, like in that era versus this era, you get like for them everything is just happening within one space. Yeah. And for us, it's like a different world, technology, cabs and all that stuff. So I really love to speak with them and understand, like, what did you guys really go through back then? How was it? Yeah.
Just to wrap this off, first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom as well. Now, if you could just give us another nugget here. Your role involves a lot of strategic thinking and planning. Can you share a behind-the-scenes look of how you develop and execute a digital marketing campaign from start to finish?
So we have two aspects of Century Group. We have Century Cinemax, which are now the physical cinemas that we own and manage. Sarit, Garden City, Junction, Two Rivers. Then we have distribution. Distribution now involves, as the term dictates or denotes, getting the license for a movie from studios, and distributing it to the different cinemas across East Africa. And not just cinemas owned by us, but cinemas owned by different people across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Zambia. Now, the first step towards developing any digital campaign on the distribution side, and that's what I want to focus on because it's more fun, and there's a lot more happening on a regular basis, is so you find a studio gives you an update before a movie comes out. They kind of give you a breakdown. This is what's being worked on. It's going to be announced. So and so is the director. So and so will be cast. So you're told first in advance so that you start prepping. So this sometimes starts like a year out in advance. And as pre-production, production, and post-production are ongoing, they're always keeping you updated. So a lot of the times, and the biggest thing about them is information and assets. So they give you information, a lot of information. There's a lot of emailing happening. Like now, I have like maybe 2,000 plus in red emails. It's because that is a mixture of updates, assets, and campaigns you can jump into. They give you the assets, they give you information, so that based on what they give you, you're giving them feedback on your market, because the markets are different. You're giving them feedback, things like spending power, demographics, election period, things like that. Mandamanos, those things matter. Yeah. Spending power as well. So they give you feedback, and then along the way, at different points, you're projecting how much this movie will make with all other factors in consideration. And then based on that, you determine the marketing budget that will best help you achieve that target. And then now you go off, you structure a campaign, you give it back to them, corrections, feedback here and there, then you go live. And by the way, that happens for different movies at the same time.
So it's very idiosyncratic for a lot at a time.
Yeah.
It's very nuanced.
Exactly. And then also, like now you're working on something for December, you're also working for something the second week of December, third week of December from a different studio. There's a lot of that happening at the same time. So that's why I said it's a bit more exciting.
Animations will have the ball.
Exactly. So different audiences, different demographics. So it's same cinema. Yeah, so that's why I keep on telling brands, the beauty about cinema is this, it's the same cinema, but you have different demographics coming through at any one time. So it allows different products to actually feature. Like a TV station or a radio station, basically a media entity. So that's the beauty and benefit of cinema. The difference between, I guess, a TV and radio is we have consumers physically within our space. So they're not just watching and hearing, they can also touch, consume, eat, and feel. So it's a perfect place for brands to actually get that whole 360 take that they're after. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So thank you for your time. First of all, thank you for your depth, knowledge, and wisdom. Anything you have exciting coming up? Anything you want to plug? This is your moment.
Yeah. So I was told that I shouldn't be too shy to talk about this, because sometimes I am. So here goes. My birthday is next year. Every year, May 15th. That's the lines. Yours is also annual? Yours
Same
too?
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
Crazy.
Okay. So my birthday is on May 15th though. But hey, so we have Otomasuri coming up. It's our anime convention on Saturday, August 31st. It happens once a year. And we're celebrating 5 years this year. So for us, this is something really important to us, given how it is just the support from the fan base. I mean, anime otaku fans, anime manga fans, the otakus, those guys are on a different level when it comes to, putting their money where their mouth is.
Thank you.
When they like this, when they love that, we do have a bit of beef sometimes with different communities, but different communities are the way they are. But the anime guys, manga guys, the otakus, different level. So come through. Tickets on our website, moviejabber.co.ke. And I think we have one ticket tier left. Right now we have some discounts running. So if you want to buy a ticket, you better buy now before 31st. 31st, full price at the gate is 2,000 shillings. Before then, you can get a lot of discounts and a lot of goodies online right now. Yeah. So if you're a fan of anime, cosplay, gaming, we have an overnight LAN party celebrating the beta access of Call of Duty Black Ops.
Very nice.
Yeah. So different things happening as well.
We're there, definitely. Thank you, Jotham.
No worries.
Quick fire round. Don't think I'm touching your true nerd. Just go. Okay? Batman Beyond or Spider-Man 2099?
Batman Beyond.
Okay. Your favorite alternate version of Superman?
Kingdom Come Superman.
Lovely. Nice. Your top 3 comic storylines?
All-Star Superman, Superman Red Sun, and I think there's a Superman Birthright something. Yeah, I could be wrong with that, but those would be 3. I'm a Superman guy, so yeah.
Your OG Teen Titans or Young Justice?
very difficult because I watch Young Justice, so I have more familiar with them. So Young Justice.
Okay, cool. World War Hulk or Doomsday?
That's a good question. That is a good question.
Hey man, gamer.
That's a good question. But I feel it'd be a great match. But I feel World War Hulk has some sort of intellect to him that will give him that advantage over Doomsday.
Fair. Yeah. Lex Luthor or Doom?
Lex Luthor, purely because his ego and he'll be fighting for his physically. Doctor Doom can take him on, so that gives Lex the advantage in the sense that he'd want to survive more.
All right, last one. Zack Snyder Watchmen or Zack Snyder Justice League?
Zack Snyder's Justice League
Over Watchmen?
over
The
Watchmen.
209?
So Watchmen 209 is a great film. Don't get me wrong, but Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you remember the movement, restore the Snyder Cut and all that stuff, release the Snyder Cut, and the situations around him being fired. There was a lot of emotional element to it, and I believe that was the last time we saw Henry Cavill as Superman in a proper movie as well. So there's that aspect to it that makes it very priceless. So hence why I would choose it.
In Justice League Superman or alternate version Ultraman? Who's winning in that fight? Dictator or just purebred hybrid?
Very good question. I would still choose Injustice Superman because he's unbridled now. We've never had the opportunity to have like Superman go full all out without holding back. So I'd love to see that happen. So I'll throw my hat in for Injustice Superman.
Fair enough. Now, Ultimatori is coming up. I will ask you this. What's your Mount Rushmore of anime? Your top 4?
Full Metal Alchemist. In no particular order. Huh?
Brotherhood,
yeah?
Okay, we can continue.
So I know for a fact Full Metal Alchemist, Samurai X, and Bleach are my top 3. Top 3. Bleach more so because that's when I was watching it knowing this is anime. Yeah, that this is anime because I got into Naruto. I couldn't finish it. Actually, it used to be called Naruto on campus because I used to stay up watching Naruto. Then I don't know what happened. I think the fillers kind of messed me up, annoyed me. Then Bleach and the whole
was my first one as well.
Bunkai. Those elements, man. So those are 3 already. So the 4th one, I think that 4th
Old
one.
or new gen? You can go Cowboy Bebop. You can go Attack on Titan.
Crying Freeman. Then that's old. Crying Freeman. I don't know if you've watched it.
Vintage.
Yeah, Crying Freeman. That one for me still, it's just riveting. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well.
Jabber.
Thank you, man.